What's up? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Shred Show Live. I am so excited to have my guest, Mike Brown from Black Knight, joining me this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about something. I know we hear about technology, we hear about automation, but in the last few decades, from when I have been in this industry, tech advancements have significantly improved our industry. And brokers still to this day, Mike and I were just talking about it, we continue to see them struggle. We continue to see them looking for old school manual options, going to this solution and this. But Black Knight, they have an entire solution. And we're going to be talking about how innovative technology and how what the solution that they have saves you time, saves you money, and saves you stress. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not going to want to miss this. Tag your broker friends, tag your broker partners, because ladies and gentlemen, we're about to shred with Mike Brown of Black Knight. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go shred. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are so excited to have Mike Brown from Black Knight joining us this morning. And guys, if you don't know Mike, we're going to get to know him a little bit. And like I said, today we're talking about technology. We're talking about innovation. We're talking about automation, so many fun things. And sometimes, Mike, we hear these things and it almost just goes over our head. But before we get into that, I want to get to know Mike Brown a little bit, because you're one of those guys, you've been in this industry a long time, you understand it. And now with your position at Black Knight, I mean, you really, being the managing director of Originator Technologies, you really get to see so many different tech pieces, so many different things that are really helping the broker, really helping the originator become more streamlined, more efficient. But like I said, before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in this industry, Mike?
Well, first let me start out by my book meter is at an 11. And so I'm really happy to be here. Thank you. So I got started in the industry. I had a couple buddies from college right now named Dan Sigorka, who's the CEO of Sagent, Bob Jennings, who's the CEO of Closing Corp, who are at a company called Real EC, and they were looking for salespeople on the East Coast. And they called me when I was stuck in a traffic jam in North Jersey, and I said, sure. And I was lucky enough to jump into the region in the blessed year of 2007. So half the it was money. I wasn't smart enough to know how bad things were. So it was a gift, because that wasn't an impact to me. I hadn't been rolling the tide of the early 2000s, and about half my companies or accounts went out of business. The joke was, if you want them to go out of business, assign Mike to them. And but we had a good run at Real EC for about I guess 6 or 7 years, which became part of LPS, which then became part of Black Knight. I since subsequently left to go and run sales for StreetLinks, which had been acquired by Assurant. Stayed there for about 2 years for appraisal and title. Then went over to Mercury. Was there for about 10 months before we were acquired by CoreLogic. Then I went and worked for a startup. And then got a call from Joe Nakashi about 3 years ago to the day. Actually, I think it might actually be to the day, ironically enough. And he said, hey, would you be interested in coming back? And I said, absolutely. I knew at that time that Black Knight had really changed some direction. We had a new CEO named Anthony Jabbour. Anthony's tenets are integrate, innovate, and show a sense of urgency. So, what can be perceived as a big company that doesn't move fast really has changed quite a bit. And, as you've seen over the last couple of years, we've really driven home some significant tech investments in origination. And more recently, a lot of things that we're putting together for the brokers.
And that we're going to be talking a lot about that. I'm glad you mentioned. It's so cool to hear people's background. It's funny to hear where you guys started. Like I had said this before, I don't think anybody as a young child was like, hey, I want to get into the mortgage business. That's the career path I want to go. We all have these funny stories of like, just on a whim, somebody calls or somebody's like, hey, you want to come do this thing? I think it might be a good idea. And we're like, sure, we'll give it a shot. Let's give it a whirl. And now it's our, like I said, it's our passion. It's our career. It's what we live for. It's what we live and breathe every single day. But on a more important note and on a more personal note, ladies and gentlemen, if you can see mine and Mike's hair, I'm just saying, we got the beard. We're looking like brothers here. I mean, we're looking good, ladies and gentlemen. We got, I'm just going to point that out. We got these luscious locks going on. So just
Jeremiah
saying,
Johnson thing going. Yep.
Oh, I haven't heard that one yet. The Jeremiah Johnson look. That's what I like that one. We're going the Jeremiah Johnson brothers. I like that. So as we talk about this, Mike, because let's kind of dive into this. I mean, we're talking about improving the mortgage broker experience and using that through technology, through automation. And honestly, I have to tell you, we're up to our ears. I told you, owning a brokerage with my partners, owning one of the biggest mortgage brokerages here in the state of Utah, there was technology left and right, and we're seeing it more and more and more. And it seems like there are more shiny objects. I love to call it the shiny object syndrome popping up here and there. It's almost like managing all these different tech pieces is a job in itself. What are you seeing in the broker space in particular?
It's pretty similar. It's like you have to be Dr. Frankenstein for technology to run a broker shop. There's so much that comes at the brokers today. There's dueling portals depending on who they're selling their loans to, and there's dueling functionality depending on, whether they're selling to a UWM or a Stearns or whomever, right? So everybody has different, best of breed paths that they've chosen, and the broker community, deserves to get a technology offering that, the larger lenders have that's, simple to use, that includes all the components like pricing, the loan origination system, documents, CRM, which is a recent acquisition of ours with Top of Mind. All of the things that we've been focused on at a global level, which is improving efficiency, removing paper, making sure data integrity is solid, are the same philosophies that we're imparting in this broker initiative that we're undertaking.
Yeah, and that's just it. I like that you use the word initiative, because it kind of is an initiative, being that there are so many solutions, there's so many platforms, there's so many technology pieces out there. It's really understanding and bringing them under one ecosystem, having an all-encompassing. And again, I shared this with you. Coming from somebody who has, with my partners owning our brokerage, we were all divided on like, hey, I got to go find a CRM. I was, that was my piece. And then my other partner was about lead management. The other one was about data analytics. So we were all trying to chase like different pieces, trying to find, and then trying to integrate them together. Oh my gosh. Like trying to make sure they work cohesively together was just like a nightmare. And we spent more time doing that than actually focusing on what was actually important, working with the consumer, helping our originators better have those conversations and better serve the consumer. But that's kind of what the Black Knight team, all these different platforms being under this umbrella, being part of the ecosystem, being able to cohesively work together, that's what's helping this process become more simple. That's what's helping the broker really focus on what's important to them, which is the consumer. The consumer is ultimately the focus of all this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And it's like, you touched on a really important, which is, your salespeople should be talking to clients and prospects, right? And giving them a great experience is not just, technology driven, it's salesperson driven. And that salesperson can't get better at their job if they're struggling with technology, if it takes them an hour to enter an app and things like that. They need to be really fluid and really being able to move fast, and giving the borrower easy ways to get them the documents and the data they need to move things forward, and keeping them alert on all the things that are happening, right? And I feel like, we feel like the broker community has been underserved really there. And something that we want to be able to do is get a broker stood up on a system in less than a day, using the system and being able to, leverage the system. And we've done some interesting things with our acquisitions. We have a pretty decent sized broker community today with our pricing engine with LoanSifter. So we have some pieces to the puzzle that once we integrate them and move them into, the broker community with this initiative, we feel it's going to be great for both. And we're really excited about it.
And you mentioned this initiative. I like to call it almost a quest, because that's kind of your whole gig, to be honest, is Black Knight. How has Black Knight really been approaching this quest, or this initiative, as you call it, to improve the LOM broker experience? Because you guys really have. How are you guys approaching that right now?
Well, one of the best things is that the broker is an independent company in and of themselves, right?
Yep.
So if a
100%.
broker's not happy with something, they're just not going to use it. They're going to go somewhere else and use something else, right? This isn't where you're going to lock them in and say, hey, whether you love it or hate it, you're using it and you're paying us. This is going to be a deal where the brokers are going to force us to build technology that works, right? Because there's other places to go. They're going other places today. They're going to all the portals. They're using the same LOS that's been out there in the broker community for 20 something years, right? And so how how behind it is we're really assembling a tight-knit group of brokers to help consult along with us in this journey, to tell us what we need to beta and alpha the software. So when we're releasing new things, say, hey, let's get on the phone, walk through this. And, we're doing everything we can to get as much active, real feedback, because what's important right now, as you know, being a broker on July the 13th, with rate fluctuation, could totally change in 6 months. There could be something completely different, like needs to go different loan types, needs to go to different investors, right? Non-QM could, is starting to rear its head, right? So all of these things that may not be important right now because rates are incredibly low could just show up, because we've seen that happen over the last 9 years, right? It goes, and regulation might show up. We don't know yet, right? So we got to be ready for all that stuff.
We do have to be ready for all of it. And you mentioned that something that I want to come back to in a second. You mentioned even these big banks, these huge banks. I mean, you look at the Rocket Mortgages, the Loan Depots, the guaranteed rates, they have these deep pockets, they have these technologies, and being able to rival, being able to compete with them is very, very difficult. And I want to come back to that here in just a second, because you mentioned something else. You mentioned these brokerages, being that we run our own businesses. I coming from somebody who has run my own brokerage, then partnering with partners and having our brokerage, is being able to find that technology and get it implemented can take time, but sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, this doesn't speak to this, and you've got to be able to change the page. What Black Knight is doing, bring them all together. Your team is making sure those integrations go seamlessly. And again, nothing's perfect, but I remember we struggled. That was one of our biggest struggles, is one of us would find a technology that we're like, hey, this seems really, really cool. Let's adopt this. Let's use this. And then we tried it and it just wouldn't work. Like it wouldn't jive with everything else that we had in place. That's the ecosystem that you guys are building, is like, hey, you don't have to worry about trying to put this piece and piecemeal everything together. It's all there, right? You're
on Instagram, and has anybody ever taught you how to use Instagram?
No.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. So the philosophy is, let's build software that literally, you can log in and start using it, right? And making it as simple as possible, right? We saw the success that the point of sales had 6 years ago with a very simple 1-by-1 question, right, to get an app done. And what's interesting about that was the same questions that I answered doing a loan with at WAMU in 1998, right? So it's all been there. It's just putting it in the right package and giving the brokers and that community access to it. And when we talk about the bigger, like the UWMs and the guaranteed rates and the ones that are really large with deep pockets, our intention isn't to displace any of those lenders as much as it's to enable them to spend less money on their technology and give the broker a more seamless opportunity to get to their LOS, right? So in other words, from the broker system to the investor system, right? And then that way, all of the back and forth of, I didn't get this document, this data point doesn't interact correctly, the pricing's wrong, right? All of that, will over time be alleviated.
I love that. I love that you say, you're not quite trying to compete with the UWMs, the home points. You're trying to actually make it a more seamless process for everybody. Like, you're trying to make it so, like you said, that the originator can go focus on what's important. The broker can go focus on the consumer, which ultimately should be all of our goal. So this discussion that we're having now is really more of like, hey, brokers in particular, if you want to compete with the retail side, if you want to compete with the Quickens, the Loan Depots, the guaranteed rates, these people who have these deeper pockets, that could be a very expensive route to go. Because if you're trying to bring all this technology into one place, it may seem expensive, but relatively, like you're saying, and what your team is building, it's not as expensive. It's basically all in one solution, and it's going to be way cheaper than trying to piece everything together. Correct?
Yeah. I mean, right now, if you're paying somebody for pricing, somebody for a front end, somebody for an LOS, somebody for a CRM, right? the take all of those sums, all of the contracts, all the renewals, all of the different points that you have to interact with, and wrap them into one, and the sum of those parts is less than the sum of the whole is less than the sum of the parts. To me, it as long as the technology stands on its own, which it has to, because brokers won't use it otherwise, then you have a home run.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned that because, again, a lot of this, and this question just came in, is how do you help smaller brokerages? And this is something that can be adopted for smaller brokerages, right, Mike? You don't have to be this huge like it can be maybe you're just a small mom and pop shop. You can be just a few LOs. You guys have that solution for them as well.
Yeah. So our initial focus group is made up of a few very large, high volume, high producers who are kicking the tires, and then also mom and pop shops that are doing 5-10 loans a month. I think one of our biggest challenges at Black Knight has been to let the market know we're out here, right? Let the market know that this is what what we've learned in building technology for the last 50 years, because in different entities Black Knight's been around for about 50 years.
Wow.
That we've learned how to make people more efficient, how to deliver technology, and how to make it as possible. And now we're in a world where we have the cloud, so the cost of maintaining the hardware for the software is significantly alleviated. The ability to do software releases like on a dime, right? I mean, they used to be once or twice a year, and now it's we're releasing code in weekly sprints, right? And things can go even daily fast, right? Like when you go on Amazon, they'll do a code release during the day that you don't even know about. It just pops up, right? And so we take a lot of that same philosophy in the space, and we use that on our technologies. So that way, when somebody picks up the phone and says, "Hey, this button over here, if I press it and I don't like it, I want it on this side, and here's why," and it makes sense, then we go and we're going to make the change. And all of these brokers are going to have different sets of problems, because they're going to buy different sets of loans. They're going to have different people in their shop working on their processing, and we're going to be managing through that over the next few years.
Well, I think that's a big part of it too. Like you're saying, is everybody's unique. Everybody's different. Everybody from different brokers to small mom and pop shops, they do things a little bit. And especially depending on the region you're in, demographically, it depends on the region you're in. So things like that can change. So having that, again, working with your team, working with the entire Black Knight team, saying, "Hey, you know what, Mike, this is how we're doing things here. We're seeing this." And as long as it makes sense, you can actually, it's customizable. There can be some tweaks that are made to me, to my shop, to my LOs, because I know that's how our process works. But at the same time, you're seeing the entire gamut across the entire industry saying, "Well, hey, you know what? That's a good idea. But what we're seeing with this other group, or what we're seeing in this other area, we're seeing this to be more efficient." You're actually helping brokers in the long run of like, "Hey, we're providing more solutions and ideas for them."
I mean, if your technology inhibits you so much that you can only go to one portal for one investor, are you a wholesale broker, right? I mean, or are you actually able to deliver, if we deliver the technology, when we deliver the technology that we are going to deliver, we're going to give the brokers the ability to integrate to different portals, to go where they need to go. The backbone of that is it starts with the pricer, right? We have the pricer out there that brokers are using today. We have a significant population on LoanSifter, significant population on Top of Mind. So we have these puzzle pieces that are all going to get interlinked, and we feel really good about the approach and the opportunity here.
It's funny. I've mentioned this before, like as we've had conversations with Black Knight. LoanSifter is what I use for years. That's what our brokers use. It's just such an efficient product. And we talk, especially in the broker community, pricing is one of those things that is such a relevant conversation. And with rates continuing, with as low as they are, being competitive in this market is absolutely, it's a big piece, but it's not everything. Having that entire, like I keep referring to it as an ecosystem, having all these platforms behind you in one place, pricing is great, but then you have to have the rest of the entire structure. Going back to what we referenced in the very beginning is I want my sales team, my originators. If you're an originator, it's your business. You should be looking for a solution that allows you to be selling more. If you're having to worry about technology, if you're having to worry about something that, again, is just distracting you, that is taking away from your time of being involved with the consumer, you don't want that piece of technology in your life. You don't want that to be distracting. You want something that is there, that is absolutely working for you, not against you.
You see, Josh, you see a direct correlation between what you just described in the successful brokerages and the successful lenders versus the ones that tend to struggle. When we'll run into lenders that'll struggle, and they'll say things like, well, I really want my LO to review all of the docs before it goes to the processor, right? And it's like, whoa, what? Like, what? Why? Why would you want that? Why would you want your LO reviewing the docs? There's automation that you can put right on the front end that we have at Black Knight that will tell you right away if the doc is the right doc, the right pay stub, the right W-2. Like, all of those things are things that you can put in to take any of the processing stuff off of the loan officer's desk, so they can be focused on delivering a great experience to the borrower and getting that borrower to give them a great referral for another client.
Absolutely. And that is just it, is those little pieces, Mike, that I think because I've heard those stories too, like, oh, I want my originator to look at those documents. I'm like, why? Like, there's technology, and huge shout out to all our processors out there. I mean, I've had so many processors that I love and adore. They've done a phenomenal job, but these technologies are helping them. It's helping the entire process. Oh, yeah. You have this automation in place that's like simplifying it for across the entire process with the origination.
Right. The processors don't want to be checking that Mike Brown is Michael Brown is Mike Brown is Michael Brown. They want to focus on all of the complexities inside of the loan and be drawn to the things that are going to blow up when it gets to underwriting, right? So we want to take that's a main goal of ours, is to take that the remedial stuff out of the equation, so these very highly skilled folks, because you need to be skilled to do these jobs, are focusing on skilled tasks.
Exactly. And I think that's where our industry is moving. As we continue to see these efficiencies, as we continue to see these innovations, which Black Knight, you guys continue to innovate. And like I said, these platforms that you bring all in one, this all encompassing streamlined process, is where we need to see this, especially for brokers. Because like you and I have mentioned, I've seen it, the conversations that I've had, the different groups that I'm in, that is still conversations that I see on a regular basis going on. Is like, hey guys, what tech are you using here? What are you using for this? What are you using for this? What are you using for this? And it's like, you're still trying to piece it all together. That's in the past. Like, stop struggling with that. Forget about that. There's an all-in-one solution. It's right here in front of you. And like you said, it's kind of, you're almost like the best kept secret that is just like, it's right here. Yeah. Just look, it's here.
Now we're the next 6 months, you'll see some exciting stuff coming out as we continue with this initiative, and as we move these technologies and integrate them together. We're going to have some really neat stuff to talk to you about.
Absolutely. And there's a comment that came in. I love the comparison to Instagram. It's a great comparison. Like, most of us weren't taught Instagram. It's a very simple, you pull it up and you add a photo, do a live, do a story. It's there. It's simple. It's easy. Yeah. That's, again, what you guys continue to put out, is a simple solution that's just, it's there, it's efficient. And you and I mentioned this in the very beginning, but we didn't mention it on the show, is we are continually, as salespeople, we're always on the go. We're 24/7. This is what we're doing, whether we're traveling, whether we're spending time with family, whatever we're doing. This is our career. This is our life. This is our passion, as so many people talk about it. So having a solution at our fingertips where we can really continue to help our consumers and answer their questions and be that valuable resource for them, that's what we need. That's exactly what this industry is becoming. And that's the solution that you guys continue to provide. So with that, I mean, Mike, anything you want to wrap up on, anything you want to share, anything you're excited for the next few months?
National Broker Day, July the 18th.
July 18th. Right? Yep. July 18th, just around the corner. There's some more stuff coming out over the next few months. As we get closer to, some, potential big announcements, it'll be really exciting to come back and chat with you. I was going to say, you guys are going to have to stay tuned, because there's some big things. You think Black Knight is exciting now? Just wait, ladies and gentlemen. There's so much more to come. Mike Brown with Black Knight, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate everything that you've shared, Mike. And for all our brokers out there, if you're looking for solutions, go to blackknightinc.com. We'll drop the link below. If you guys have questions, if you have anything you want to learn, we want to make sure you guys get hooked up with these people, so you can continue to grow, so you can continue to thrive. That's what we're all about here at Shred. Showing up, hustling, repeating every day, but we bring you the solutions. We bring you the value so you can be successful. You have dedicated your life to this, and now it's time to take advantage of what's right in front of you. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for all of you to go shred. Show up, hustle, repeat every day. We'll see ya.